Welcome back to This is Baseball. I'm Brandon Johnson. It is summer, or almost summer. June is really almost over. I do want to start the show on a little bit of a somber note. Willie Mays has passed away at the age of 93, Major League Baseball Hall of Famer. One of the best to ever do it. 3,000 hit club, 660 homers, a career batting average of 300, two-time MVP, Rookie of the Year, 12-time Gold Glove winner, 24-time All-Star, World Series champion. He's known for one of the most famous catches of all time. So thinking about Willie Mays' family during a tough time. On Thursday, MLB is actually playing a game at Rickwood Field. Rickwood Field is the oldest professional baseball park in the United States. The San Francisco Giants and St. Louis Cardinals are going to play there. That is also where the Birmingham Black Barons played, which is where Willie Mays played before he was in MLB. So that game was going to be a celebration of Willie Mays, and it still is going to be a celebration of Willie Mays, but it's going to now turn into more of a tribute of Willie Mays. So tune in to the game this Thursday between the Giants and Cardinals at 6:15 because it's going to be special. You're not going to want to miss that. And like I said, it's between the Cardinals and the Giants, and both teams are playing some pretty good baseball right now, so it'll be a good game overall. So I want to talk and circle back. We talked about the Royals' schedule in June and how they've got a pretty tough go. And honestly, most of it's over. They had a stretch where they played the Guardians, Mariners, Yankees, and Dodgers back to back. Four of the best teams in the league. Lost 3 out of 4 to the Yankees. They took 2 out of 3 against the Mariners. They split with the Guardians and then lost 2 out of 3 with the Dodgers. So they kind of treaded water against those opponents, which is really what you were wanting them to do, is try to go 500. They went 5-7 in those games. But now they have the schedule lightens up a little bit. I talked about this in a previous episode. They have 3 against the A's, 3 against the Rangers, the Marlins, and then they have a tough ending to their schedule in June where they have 4 against the Guardians. So they have 9 games right now with 3 teams that they should be able to take 6 wins. They should be able to go 6-3 against those teams. I think they should be able to go 7-2. I think they can sweep the A's or they can sweep the Marlins. I think I'll give the Rangers a little bit of respect because they are the defending world champions, but they're not playing like the same team this year. But yeah, they need to just rattle off some wins and get in a position against the Cleveland Guardians where they can get some ground in the division race. Because right now the Guardians, they just lost 2 out of 3 against the Blue Jays, and they're playing at home against the Mariners right now. They're actually down 8-4 going into the 8th inning, if that gives you any indication of when I'm recording this episode. Then the Blue Jays again, and then they play the Orioles before they go to Kansas City for 4. So I think what would be incredibly fun is this series between the Guardians and Royals at the end of June. If the Royals are 3 games back and they are able to either catch the Guardians or pass the Guardians in the standings. Because with the Royals, like a lot of people, like they went under 500 in the stretch earlier with the Guardians, Mariners, Yankees, and Dodgers. And a lot of people kind of wrote the Royals off and like, they can't hang against good teams. Like they're a good team. They're not a great team. I think the Royals did exactly what they needed to do in those games, and it was just don't drown. A lot of the kind of the talk has been for the Royals to tread water in situations like that, and that's exactly what they did. They didn't gain any ground, but they really didn't lose any ground either. Would you have liked them to not lose 3 out of 4 and give up a bunch of runs in the first innings of those losses? Like, obviously. But I don't feel any different about the Royals before that stretch and after that stretch. I still feel really good about them. I still feel like they're a playoff team. Yes, I know if they want to make a deep playoff run, they have to beat those teams. But as of now, you did your job. You treaded water. You have a stretch of games right now that I already mentioned that you can make up some ground and put yourself in a position when you meet up against the Guardians to win 3 out of 4 at home. And then you have a schedule in July that I think is going to be pretty light as well. And yeah, you need some bullpen help. I think that a trade will happen where you're going to bring in a bullpen arm to help fill some of the holes and solve some of the problems that your bullpen has caused. But that'll be something that'll obviously happen closer to the trade deadline at the end of July. But as it stands right now, feel really confident about the Royals and where they're going and what they're doing. They have, in my opinion, Bobby Witt Jr. might be the best player in the league right now. He's a legitimate superstar, and he is going to be the leader of a team that, again, I think will be, if they don't win the American League Central, I think that they will be in the playoffs via wild card. So some news came out earlier this week that Major League Baseball has disciplined one of their umpires, Pat Hoberg, for violating gambling rules. Now, this podcast has become the unofficial place to talk about gambling violations inside of Major League Baseball. I feel like I'm talking about something regarding a gambling violation seemingly twice a month. And here we are again with another violation, this time not with a player, but with an umpire, Pat Hoberg. Now, an article from ESPN by Jeff Passan announced that Hoberg has been disciplined. We don't know the nature of the discipline that MLB has laid down. Pat Hoberg hasn't actually umpired a game yet this season. And Hoberg is appealing the discipline. Now, we don't really even know the nature of the violation that they found Pat Hoberg had committed. So, once we figure that out or know a little bit more, I will have probably a lot more to say about this. But this is happening quite often now, where either a player or an umpire or some sort of personnel member of an MLB franchise is caught in some sort of gambling scandal. And I read the rules. I read MLB's gambling policy a couple weeks ago. I'm not going to do it again, but it is very clear on what you can and can't do, what you can and can't bet on as a player, as a personnel member, as anybody surrounding the game of baseball. So I don't feel any sort of sympathy for the discipline that's going out to these people that are getting caught for gambling on baseball games. You know the rules. You know the consequences. It's your decision that you're making. So if you're going to get an 80-game suspension or you're going to get a lifetime ban, that's on you. You know the rules. They tell you the rules every year. It's up to you to make sure that you follow those rules, follow those policies. If you don't, you're playing the risk of getting caught and suffering the consequences, where multiple players have seen what that looks like this season. One player getting a lifetime ban from the game. So I don't know. Hopefully this calms down. I don't know if it's ever going to, with the legalization of gambling across many states, sports gambling across many states. But MLB and other sports have a responsibility to protect the integrity of their sports. So they're going to act swiftly when they see potential violations come up like this. Because the last thing that they need is the public, the fans, thinking that games are fixed and losing trust in the product and not feeling confident that what they're seeing is real. So they're going to have to continue to act swiftly. They can't mess around with these violations. So I think you're just going to see it regularly. We're kind of in a new era of this is what's happening. So Pat Hoberg did put out a statement, and I'll read it here. It's from ESPN.com. It says, "I am appealing Major League Baseball's determination that I should be disciplined for violating the sports betting policies. While the appeal is pending, it would not be appropriate to discuss the case. That said, I have devoted my adult life to the profession of umpiring, and the integrity of baseball is of the utmost importance to me. I look forward to the appeal process, and I am grateful that the Major League Baseball Umpires Association is supporting me in that appeal." Now, the last time that an umpire or official was part of a betting scandal was actually in the NBA. Tim Donaghy, you probably remember that name. Back in 2007, he was sentenced to 15 months in prison after pleading guilty to conspiracy to engage in wire fraud and transmitting betting information through interstate commerce. And Donaghy actually admitted that he had bet on games over 4 seasons and passed along tips to gamblers. So it has happened in other sports where an official got involved in fixed games or bet on games, and I'm not saying that's what happened here because we don't know, but we'll find out more, and I will obviously share that info. So last week I talked about Kansas lawmakers discussing a bill to basically start talks of getting both the Royals and the Chiefs to move over from Missouri to Kansas. This bill passed, and it's now heading to the governor's desk. And like I said last week, this bill is they're hoping to use star bonds to build stadiums for both of the teams. So the whole goal is the state of Kansas wants the Chiefs and Royals to come to Kansas. Obviously, like I said, Jackson County, Missouri had a vote in April to get the Royals a new stadium downtown and renovations for the Chiefs at Arrowhead. That bill was voted no. So naturally, both teams are now discussing other options. Now, I think a lot of people have panicked with this in Kansas City, that this basically means that the Royals and Chiefs are as good as gone. I don't think that's what it means. I do think that it makes this situation interesting because it means that while we've talked about Kansas being a possibility for the Chiefs and Royals, this makes it all more realistic that it could happen. I still have a little bit of a tough time thinking that the Royals and Chiefs would go to Kansas. I still feel like the Royals could get something together with either the county or the city and figure out a way to get a downtown stadium in Kansas City if it's at the Crossroads district that they had pitched before, maybe with a better plan for the public, or maybe they do it privately, or in the East Village spot. I still feel like they can do that. I don't think that's off the table. I don't think we need to give up, even though some people have kind of done that. I do fear, I don't even know if I fear, but I do feel like the Chiefs have a pretty realistic shot of relocating to Kansas. And I think that's worst case scenario. And if worst case scenario is the Chiefs move to Kansas, like just the other side of the state line. I think that's honestly better than what the alternative would be in relocating entirely, which I don't think either teams are going to do. But I think the idea of the Chiefs getting a brand new stadium that would be a dome and could host all kinds of events year round. They could get a Super Bowl. They could get a Final Four. They could get, you name it. There's really endless possibilities. I think that is intriguing and interesting if you're the Kansas City Chiefs. And I do think that the Royals will take Kansas seriously as well, even though, like I said, I feel like they can get something done in Missouri. But, they're going to see what the state of Kansas has to offer, what that looks like for them. And again, this is all like very, very new. So there's nothing that's even set in stone. No team has made any sort of decision as what they're doing. All that they have said is, yeah, we're interesting. We're looking at opportunities, and we got to see kind of what makes the most sense and really what can get done. So I think it's an interesting situation, and it's honestly, as somebody that lives in Kansas City, it's one of these things that, like, I wish that the vote on April 2nd would have passed, because I think we have a long way to go on these stadium discussions as far as who's going where and what's happening here, who's doing what. And so really just buckle up if you live locally in Kansas City or if you're paying attention from afar, because I think it's going to get interesting, because I think Missouri, Kansas City, Jackson County, whoever, needs to respond quickly, because Kansas has made their move, and honestly a really big move. So yeah, we'll follow that story as we have been throughout really the past year. But before we get out of here, I want to take a look ahead to the weekend slate of games. And I was looking at it, like, this is something that I'm trying to do regularly, and I'm looking at this weekend, and there's not a lot there, unfortunately. I think that the most interesting matchup is Yankees and Braves are matching up against each other. Yankees are obviously the best team in the league. Braves are pretty good as well. They're not quite as good as they had been in previous seasons. The Phillies have kind of overtaken them in that role, but Braves still a very respectable team, and obviously Yankees, who just seemingly are winning all the time. Now, something to watch for the Yankees is Aaron Judge actually left the game tonight, and because he got hit in the hand by a pitch, so he's getting some testing done. And honestly, we might know what happened to Aaron Judge and have a better understanding of his situation by the time that this podcast airs. So it might not even be, it might not matter. But hopefully he's good, because we don't want him out for an extended period of time, because unfortunately the Dodgers did not have a good time this weekend either, because Mookie Betts was hit in the hand by a pitch and fractured his left hand. Mookie Betts is expected to be out 6 to 8 weeks, so that really puts him back around late August, maybe even into September. So a notable absence for the Dodgers, who, Mookie Betts is clearly one of the 5 best players in Major League Baseball, so you obviously don't want your best players to be hurt. So like I said, I hope that Aaron Judge doesn't have the same fate here, because he's having a great year and is a huge reason as to why the Yankees are having the year that they're having. I already mentioned the Giants and Cardinals earlier. They're matching up this weekend. Cardinals are playing really good baseball. They've been pretty fun to watch lately, and that's really the first time that I can say that in a while. Lastly, Dodgers and Angels are playing. Dodgers are hosting the Angels, and the only reason that I bring that up is because obviously Shohei Ohtani clearly played for the Angels, and now he's with the Dodgers. So Shohei Ohtani versus his old team. That's all I have this week. Hey, if you are a football fan and are needing some football content, I have a football podcast called Football Kingdom. I've mentioned it here before, but we just released a new episode today. It's our first episode for about a month because it's the off season, but we kind of discussed the quarterback contracts, some wide receiver stuff, and then just a few notable matchups from the first couple weeks of the NFL schedule. So if you're interested in that, check it out. Football Kingdom. Thank you for listening this week. I'll see you next time.